Greetings, welcome. Thank you once again for tuning in to the Nuanced Conversation podcast. I am the creator, and host, George Hurd of this podcast. We got special guests here today with us. Dear friend, in the midst of her tremendously busy schedule, being a new mother, being a president and creator of her own foundation, assisting out her pastor in ministry, having her own passion for ministry and work and life outside of even those areas. To agree to be with us, we're excited and elated about that. We're going to get to learn a lot about her, get to learn a lot about the Ladylike Foundation, its origin, its creation, and everything else. But hey, Leah, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for coming.
Of course.
Excited to have us. Where are you from?
Oh, my goodness. I'm from Los Angeles, California.
What?
Hollywood.
You're one of those
Melrose
people.
and Orange Drive,
Wow.
literally.
As we begin our conversation, let me first swear you in. You promise to be honest, intelligent, transparent, empathetic in this conversation.
Do I have my right
Yeah,
hand?
right hand of God in the word of Nipsey. Yes.
I do.
I do. She's sworn in. All right. Tell us about your upbringing.
I was raised in LA. My dad is from Chicago. Well, was from Chicago. He came here to act. My mom is a native. She went to Fremont High School. And they met at church.
What church did they meet at?
Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church. Evie Hill was our pastor, the late Dr. Evie Hill. And I was raised in a very strict family. Strict.
What do you mean by strict?
Oh, my God. My dad, they didn't let me do anything. Nothing.
What?
I just sneak and do everything.
So you did do stuff, though.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But they didn't let you. Explain strict, though, and because we're talking a whole different world now and generation.
Oh, I know.
So what was you consider as being raised strict?
Every age was something. So at 13, you could talk to boys on the phone because you couldn't talk to boys on the phone, right? You had a landline, so they had to call and say, "May I please speak to Leah?" Okay. But my dad made that rule, but my mom didn't agree with that. So she said if a boy called and he picked up, to hang up. But if she picked up, she let me talk to them.
Really?
Oh, yeah. But, that didn't last. I got one of my biggest whoopings from that.
Wow. And so, I mean, when you look back on stuff like that, is there appreciation for it now? Or do you look back on it like, hey?
I have mixed feelings because I feel like when you're too strict, I rebelled. So for me, I was like, okay, when I'm at this age or when I have my own kids, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing none of that. And then I also would talk back, so I would get in a lot of trouble. Whereas my brother, he internalized everything, and then now he has bipolar disorder. So I feel like, because he didn't talk back.
It was two of you all.
Yes.
And you were the oldest.
Yes. So he was the straight A student. He was the athlete. He was. So my dad was really hard on him because my dad was that athlete that didn't make it, right? So, of course, his son is going to make it. And so while he was strict on me, I'm talking back like, that doesn't make sense. What do you mean you said so? What do you mean you said so? This makes no sense. This is a homecoming dance. I can't go to the homecoming dance. So, or Chasen, my brother, wouldn't say anything. So now he's needs therapy and medication. And that's a whole nother thing.
Right.
So I feel like for me, I've always had the plan B. Okay, so I'm going to spend the night over at this person's house and I'm going to be able to go to the party. Or I'm going to stay after school late, that I could,
So your wings did flap. You were able to experience certain things.
But then I got married early, so I don't think that was okay, because then I was like, okay, when I get out the house.
So when did you leave out the house? You're selling in high school and academics. You're doing what you're doing, but you're not doing anything crazy. You're just breaking house rules, not breaking any county rules or city rules or state laws or federal laws.
My dad was crazy, so I was like, nah. I went to Berkeley, so I went away to school, which was great. I tell everybody to go away to school, and it was not too far because I could go home whenever. And that's when I experienced a freedom that I never had.
Wow.
That was crazy.
So walk us through choosing Berkeley.
Okay.
and then walk us through like your first, like you're talking about now, experiences of freedom and adjusting to adulthood, college life, and things of that nature.
Okay. So I go to Berkeley. I go early because I get into Summer Bridge. Summer Bridge is a program that you can go on campus. You find, start your classes early. You get to learn your professor.
Yeah, bridge over. Yeah,
it's really great because you get to learn the campus. The campus is huge, right? I met my best friend, who family goes to your church, on the first day of Summer Bridge, right?
Wow.
We're friends to this day. So that was great. I mean, being able to have
you chose Berkeley
because
yeah.
Why? First of all, I didn't choose Berkeley.
Okay.
My mom chose that for me. My mom went to Berkeley.
Oh, okay.
And my mom's family is a family of educators, and so they, even though they're from Watts and they're very conservative, they felt that education was their way out, right? So everything revolved around education. So my grandparents both have postgraduate degrees, but they had their kids first, and they took turns to go to school. And then their children, my mom and my uncle, graduated summa cum laude from Stanford University, was the first African American to go to Jules Stein Institute, and he was an ophthalmologist.
So both of your grandparents, your maternal and paternal grandparents, were postgraduate?
Only maternal.
Okay, and they were. Where did they go to postgraduate school at?
My grandfather went to USC. He went to Prairie View and USC. My grandmother went to Cal State LA for both, and they were both administrators in LAUSD.
They're from LA. How did they migrate to LA?
Texas.
Through Texas.
Yes. My grandfather's from Crockett, Texas. My grandmother's from Palestine, Texas.
Did they know each other?
No. But my grandfather's sister and my grandmother went to school together. So when my grandfather migrated out here with his entire family, he was in the Army. So he was in World War II, got his family set up on 55th Street and Hooper, which is down the street from Mount Zion. That's the whole reason why they go there. And my grandmother's father worked on the trains, and they had a free ticket to come to LA. My grandmother came on her free ticket to LA. When she got here, she said, I want to see Dorothy, my school friend. Her family, the Lusks, moved here. She calls her brother, John Lusk, brings Dorothy to see my grandmother. And my grandfather is John, and my grandmother never went back to Texas. So she ends up getting married. They get married in like a month and a half.
So when your grandfather's family moved here, it's not that he had a wife and children, his sister.
Yeah.
So your grandfather's sister moved here.
They all moved.
Yeah, here, and then your grandma visited, and then they got together.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, do you know any generations back besides their parents? Anything about their parents or?
Well, my grandmother's mother died when she was 5, and her father, she's has 20 kids, but her grandmother raised them.
And who has 20 kids?
My grandmother's father
has 20 kids.
Yes,
gotcha.
After them. So she was like, she's like, I don't want to date. I don't want to marry nobody with kids. I don't want to deal with no baby mom. Because she saw it all, right? And so she was like, education is the way out. My grandfather's father is a blue-eyed blonde, and his mother is
What's a blue-eyed blonde?
White, Caucasian, and his mother is Indian and black, but very dark, with long hair. So the mixture is beautiful, right? And we're Sioux Indians, so we have Sioux and Cherokee. My mom knows all of that. She loves that stuff. So the Dances with Wolves is the tribe that we're from.
Oh, wow.
So, which is Sioux Indians. So they're she's really into that. So they migrated to LA, and they made, my grandparents, my grandfather and my grandmother were the most successful people in their family as far as, because they went to college. Their other siblings did not, but they helped their other siblings get jobs and all kinds of things. So here I come around, it's a non-negotiable issue. You're going to college.
You're going to college. You're going to Berkeley.
Yes, I wanted to go to Spelman.
You want to go to Spelman?
I wanted to have the HBCU. I've always had a.
Why did you want to go to Spelman?
Because I wanted to go to the Ivy League of HBCUs, right? Which is Spelman, Morehouse, Howard. It's like a lineage, right? And so I did not get into to Spelman, and it's crazy because I was like number 5 in my class. I had, great grades.
You got into Berkeley, but you didn't get into Spelman.
Isn't that crazy? It was just because the Lord didn't want me to go there, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And my mom didn't help me with that application. She's like, you're not going.
Who knows
I'm not
if
helping
Spelman's
you.
even seen this application?
Who knows? All I know is I worked so hard on it. I typed it out. I remember my personal essay was, where's my 40 acres and a mule? And I did all of this whole, please, did not get in. It's crazy. I got into I got into everywhere. I got into Hampton, Howard, NYU, USC, UC Santa Barbara. I did not get into UCLA because usually if you get into UC Berkeley, you don't get into UCLA. And if you get into UCLA, you don't get into Berkeley, usually.
So you're from a line of education, you're from a line of discipline, a line of Christianity. So I'm imagining your college experience was real disciplined, well Christian-like, well normal. How was that? Yeah.
I didn't want to go to church when I went to school. I was like, You mean time I could sleep in? I was in church all the time. Thursday, choir rehearsal. Saturday, ministry stuff. I was president of the choir, president of the kids, president of the circle girls, with the feeding the homeless, doing, going to the convalescent homes. I was like, you mean to tell me I get to sleep in on this?
So you was churched out before Tamala Man was.
Oh, I was churched out. Take me to the king. Yeah, I was churched out. And I told my parents, I was like, no church for me. Mm-mm.
Cool.
So, go to church. I go to Berkeley. It's great. My dad calls me every morning on Sunday at 6 a.m. asking me what church I'm going to. This is before the internet. Like, you can't even search for a church. And I was like, Dad, I don't have a car. I'm not going to church. He's like, no, you're going to somebody's church. I was just like, okay. I remember I would hold it, say, okay. And I'd turn back over. I'll find, okay, Daddy, I'll find one. Okay, love you too. And I'd be like, I ain't going to nobody's church. So one time I got tired of it. I was like, my girlfriend went to Cal with me. She's 2 years older. And her parents, they all went to Mount Zion. So, they're like sticklers about church. So, you need a church home. You need a church home. So she's like, let's just go. Let's just go. Like my parents said, let's just go. We go. We'll go late. We'll go right before the preaching. Because we, when you've been in church, right when preaching starts and when it ends. If church starts at 11, get there at 12 because that's halfway through. So we go. And it's this guy who had been preaching at Mount Zion every year since I was like 6 on the first Sunday in July. So my dad was like, go to this church. He's young. He's like he looks like he's fun and he's da-da-da-da. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I told her, she's like, let's just go. That seems like a cool church. He's young. He must be fun. We don't want to go to anybody old. It's so funny. I should have went to somebody old. But anyway, so we go to church and we walk in and I just look like, oh, wow, I forgot he preaches good. I've always loved preaching. And so I was like, wow, this is nice. And so we stood up. Back in the day, you stand up, you tell everybody where you're from, right? And so we
guests stand up, say your name, yeah.
And so at this particular time, they just stood up. We just stood up, but then we didn't say anything. And so if we went there and didn't say, like, we're from E.B. Hill's church, then that's like a sin almost, right? So after church, we walk down. I am so nervous, right? I am so, because people don't know that I am shy. They don't think so, but I have take a long time. I'm like, okay, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? What am I going to say? So I'm standing there and he's like, hey, well, where are you guys from? And I'm like, we're from Mount Zion, E.B. Oh, Papa Hill's church. So it's like, what do you guys do? We go to Berkeley. Oh, you guys must be smart. So I was like, that's all you hear. Oh, you must be smart. Oh, you're black and you go. And so anything you guys need, you need computers. We didn't have no computers. Computer was like a big deal. What do you guys need? You need help with your dorm rooms. And, anybody that's nice like that, you're like, wow, you're not used to that. I'm not used to that. I'm used to my parents and my family doing everything. So I was like, wow. And I'm enamored. I'm not even blinking wow. being taken away. Just crazy. And so my girlfriend's doing all the talking. So we walk out and I'm like, oh my God, he's fine. She's like, he's old. Shut up. You know, I'm like, yeah, but he sure is fine. What did I say that for? Well, the next time we went, this time we walk in, he's like, hey, they're here. Come on down. So I'm like, oh, he wants us to come down, you know. Come to my office after church. You know, that's a big deal. That's a big, like, for Pastor to call you in the office, that's like huge. Either you're in trouble or, you know, because I've been called in the office for being in trouble from the conventions, but this is a different trouble. This is a different thing. So we go back, and he's asking us all these questions. Well, to make a long story short, I get up enough strength to be like, are you married? And he's like, no. And I'm like, that's a shame. I'm like, what?
The shy girl said this.
And my girlfriend's on the other side, like, I was like, it's a shame somebody as successful as you don't have anybody. He's looking like, this little girl, like, what?
Well, it's talking the talk, yeah.
Anyway, so that was my church experience. I was going every week. And I was going to Bible study. I never went to Bible study.
Yeah, Bible study.
I was going to every service. I was going in morning and night and revivals. I never did none of that. And so, so I started dating the pastor at 18 years old. He was 35.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did that end?
Oh, God. How did that end? Well, he said that that when I graduated, he was going to marry me. So I was like, what? You know, I just didn't. This is a man. Like, this is like with money and, you know, property. You know, I'm 18. That's blowing my mind. Like, that's blowing my mind. So, and I'm going for it. And he's telling me, he has game. I mean, now when I hear it, this is like 25 years later, I laugh. Like, this is funny, right? Like, somebody would have the audacity to say this to anybody. They're really insulting their intelligence. But, so he said, when you graduate, I'll marry you. So I ended up graduating from Berkeley in 3 years. I literally took 22 units first semester, 13 units in the summer to make sure.
So you're breezing through academically. Seemingly you're on the right track. You're dating pastors, an age gap, but he's a pastor. He's successful as well, as you stated to him. And so you all are now getting close to graduation. So now you're planning marriage at this point?
I am. You know, women, we already have. We've been planning marriage. We've been planning marriage since
we bring it up closer to you.
We were planning marriage since we were 5. You know, and we're playing with Barbies. Like we're planning it. Like it's happening in our heads.
Right.
So I was killing myself. Like, and I wasn't breathing through. It was hard. I was studying all the time, but I learned the art of doing well. If that makes sense. So I would meet with professors if I wasn't getting a good grade, or I'd drop a class if I felt like I was getting like a C, and I'd take it at junior college and transfer the grade over. Okay. Like I became really like good at that, savvy at that.
At the system, yeah.
And I was doing great. I mean, I graduated in 3 years. That's amazing.
That is.
I wouldn't have never done that.
But nonetheless,
Now I would never do that. But I missed my college like
experience.
Oh my God, I missed. You know, I would have pledged. Because all my friends did. They all pledged AKA, and the AKAs were like really courting me, right? And pink is my favorite color. So, you know, I missed that because I was like, no, if I do that, you know, it's going to stop me from what I want to do. And I became like a St. John hat wearing church lady at like 19 years old. Like, what? I don't even do that now. Like I wore a hat on Sunday for the first time in like 20 years. And I almost was triggered because I was like, this feels like 20 years ago when I was miserable, you know, like.
Why were you miserable though? You know, what's going on that make it miserable? Because it seems unique, but it doesn't seem miserable.
Well, when you're dating someone that's older, you have to understand they have stuff going on. Like, I always have this philosophy. You never meet someone who doesn't have somebody. You have somebody. You may not be like in a relationship, but you got somebody you can call, somebody that's there, somebody's waiting in the wings, right? Everybody does, right? So
not everybody, listeners, but I get what you mean. Generally speaking, yes.
Okay. Usually,
yes,
there's somebody that picks up your phone call every time you call. There's somebody. So, he had a lot of somebodies.
Gotcha.
And I did not know any of that because I'm so young. I'm so naive. He was living with someone. He had kids. He had, I mean, like I got the whole. I don't want to be bad press for the kingdom, but you know, preachers are amazing individuals, but they're people, and that's what people don't get. Like they're people.
So, but none of this you knew.
None of it.
None of this you knew. Did y'all actually get married eventually?
Later. 5 years later. But so I end up graduating and he ends up sending me home, which was devastating. But like everything I worked for was just like null and void. So I go home for 2 years. And so when I get home, you know, I'm thinking I'm getting married. And my parents are like, oh no, you're getting a job. So my grandmother, it was in the newspaper, the LA Times, and it had like an employment section. And she had marked off, like literally the Monday I got home from graduation, she had marked off every place I had an interview for the next week. And I had to go. And so I'm sad because I didn't get married and I feel like a fool. And then I got to go to work. So I don't even get a break. I end up getting a job at First Lutheran Elementary School as a first grade teacher at 21 years old. And then I started teaching and I loved it. First grade, then I taught second grade. And then after that, I get married. But that was a whole
5
thing.
years later.
2 years. So it's 5 total.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after 3 years of college and 2 years of working, and you moved back to Oakland area up north?
When I got married, yes, I did. I moved back, and that's when it started getting miserable. Because he said, like, even though, well, the reason why he married me was because I was growing up. And so, I wasn't taking the okie doke no more. When you get older, you know, it's just like, and I had gotten tired of the same old. And then I started dating other people because I would be hearing about all these people he would be taking to conventions and different revivals. So I was like, well, what am I doing? I'm sitting up here waiting. No. People are asking me out. People are calling me. Let me have fun. So I start having a lot of fun. I really do. And, everything was great until he heard about one particular person, and that just turned the whole game around. I was always like, I'm like, if you ever want to get married, find somebody else. That the person that's you're waiting on, get that ring. I got that ring in a month. It went from 5 years to a month. I had a ring, and So I get married. I go move back up north. My parents are so upset. They hate him. When I say hate, they can't stand him. Especially my dad. He's like, oh, this nigga right here. Like, oh, let me catch him slipping. I want to. He's like mad. And so I have no friends, no family. And I'm living in the top of this church in this light, like it's smaller than this, a light house in a theater. I'm living there. That's what my parents, all the investment at Berkeley education, I'm living in this attic.
You get out of that situation, move back to LA.
Took me a while, yeah.
What's a while? 2 years?
No, 8 months.
Oh, 8 months. That's not
seemed like 8 years though. Yeah.
And so you're back in LA. Do you?
Yes.
What is the adjustment period like after that point? Is it a clean break? Or is there still like some healing process that need to go on?
No, it's a clean break for me, but of course, for them, it's not a clean break. Like I had no kids, so it was good. The only thing I had was property, so everything was in my name. But I felt like if they paid for it, then I was good. That's just stupid. You know, it ended up I had to I literally had to go to court. I literally had to get a lawyer. So no, that part took about, he wouldn't sign the papers. It's so crazy. Like he didn't want to be married in the first place, but didn't want to sign the papers to get divorced. So anyway, so he finally does. And so I make a pact with the Lord, and I'm like, Lord, I am not going to have sex with anybody until I get married, because I felt like all of that was just like in my head, and I was just I wasn't making clear decisions. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, listen, I need clear decisions. So that was 7 years.
That was 7 years. So that's based off your book, right?
Yes.
And tell us more about the book and why you felt the need to write the book.
So 7 years, the number 7 is the number of completion. Of course, you know this. And so it took 7 years to get me from the point of when I left Oakland to the point that I was ready for my next marriage. But there was so much in those 7 years that I went through. There was so much, from different relationships, from going back to school, getting my master's in education because I went back to teaching, to being laid off and working for an entertainment lawyer. So learning all that, legal stuff and contracts. But then I was working with 501c3s and statements of information and, you know, the nonprofit stuff that I had no idea that I would be doing, right? So I'm filing this stuff. I'm doing all this stuff for all of these celebrities and clients, right? And then I become a homeowner. In fact, my grandmother, my saving grace, I love her so much. She, when I get back home, my family had totally lost all faith and confidence in me. So I literally had to build it back. And I ended up pawning my ring. My ring was, it was a 5.1 carat diamond that he said was worth $50,000. Such a liar. So he's the worst. I'm like, that's why any joker that talks to me, I'll be saying like this, like, are you kidding? But so I'm going to all these pawn shops. I'm like, they're like, ma'am, it's only worth $4,000. There can't be $4,000 for a 5K. No way. They're like, look. There's a feather here, and then there's like 3 carbon dioxide black dots at the bottom. This may be big, but it is not worth that much. And I'm thinking like, no way. So anyway, my dad had a friend and took me to the pawn shop. It was a reality show at the time, in Beverly Hills. I took my ring there, and they gave me $8,000.
Oh wow, that's not bad.
That 50,000 to 8 is a big jump.
Well, that's what it was stated, but hey, you know.
No, I was looking for 50. I deserved.
You deserved 50.
From all I went through,
We're not even gonna get in debate if you should have returned it and all that. Obviously, we can see where you stand on that. But
well,
hey,
can I say? Can we debate that?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I was married. It wasn't an engagement ring. We were married. Okay. So when I left, he wrote me a letter every day. Every single day. He couldn't believe that I left. That was just like, he couldn't believe it. So every day he writes a letter. So in one of the letters on his letterhead, he writes, this is a letterhead. This is the church address with a signature. He goes, please take the ring, pawn it, and get yourself out of the debt that I put you in. I feel so bad. Okay.
Enough said.
I did it. And so, but he tried to sue me for it. So he sends me this letter, certified mail, and says, if you do not send the ring back, then I'm leaving this house and I'm leaving you responsible for this house. Okay. The house was over $600,000 in the Bay Area. Do you understand? That is like, I don't have any money. I'm a teacher. I was like this. So I was growing up, so I was like, oh, hell no, I am not laying down and dying with this nigga right here. He is a fool. I found a lawyer. I called my pastor. I had joined Dr. Williams' church because Evie Hill had passed away. And Doc was like, I was like, Doc, I'm fighting. Like, I'm not sending him nothing. He's gotten enough, right? But I can't assume this house. Even though I probably should have had the house, sold the house, made the money. But my parents didn't want to pay for that.
Gotcha.
They didn't want to pay for that. So I got a lawyer. He had a real estate guru in the church that got all his properties for him. And he was like, talk to her. I'm sure she has a property lawyer, right? Because you had to get a property lawyer.
Real estate lawyer, yeah.
Real estate lawyer, right? And so I did. And at first I was losing the case because he was like, he has the right to ask for the ring back. He paid for it. And I was like, I'm not, because I had already pondered at this point, so I couldn't even.
If you wanted to, yeah.
No. So he was like, do you have any evidence that he said to pawn it? I was like, absolutely. First of all, I'm a Gemini, so I keep receipts. I am like, I got evidence everywhere. I know. So I was like, oh, absolutely. So I had the whole thing, and I went to the date, got the letter, made a copy, got my grandma, said, Mama, we're winning this case. She was like, come pick me up, baby. Come pick me up. I went and go picked her up. She wrote a $2,000 check because I didn't even have that. And we sent it to his lawyer, and that was that.
Wow.
So I learned a lot in those 7 years.
What made you think that you were ready to pursue marriage again or get married again?
You know, I hate the dating process. I feel, I don't know. I never liked it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't like being with a lot of people. Like, I feel like that's just, you know? And then if they weren't serious and I was just like, okay, well then let me just move on. Mm-hmm. I did date a guy that was a rapper. I thought we were serious in my head. And my pastor was like, you ain't. And I was just like, he said, don't you read the back of his album? He said, Leah has a beautiful spirit. He said, that ain't shit. I'm telling you. And you know I'm pastor. He meant it. And I was looking at me, you're so mean. He was like, I promise you ain't. I'm saying like, okay, whatever. And he started dating this tennis girl. And I found out, it was like on Gossip. And I was like, what?
A gossip website. This is how you found out.
Yeah, so the dating scene wasn't for me. But yeah,
so you knew you was ready because...
Well, I knew I was ready because I wanted to do it again. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't a failure at it because I knew I was a good wife. I was a good person, a good teammate. And I feel like that was my destiny. But I didn't think I knew what was right for me. I knew I didn't. So I needed the Lord to like really pick the person.
Yeah. You're the president and founder of Ladylike. What is Ladylike? How did that evolve in the midst of everything else that was going on in your personal life?
Okay, so the Ladylike Foundation is a foundation for girls ages 12 to 18 where we educate, empower, and inspire young ladies living in underprivileged communities to reach their highest potential and become everything they're created to be through workshops, through mentorships, through STEM, through, I don't know, everything the young lady needs, we make sure it happens, okay? How did I get that? Now, I had no idea that I was going to do that. Mm-hmm. So I had, in my dating season, with a lot of failed relationships, I got so angry. Like, nobody's calling me. I would literally call my phone. Like, is my phone broke? Like, why is my phone? You know, I'm like, what? What? Like, I would meet people, think this would be great, and then something would happen, and I wouldn't hear from them. And I'm like, I think I'm cute, though. I think I'm fun. Like, what is... And Doc would be like, you are crazy. And I'm like, I'm not crazy. Mm-hmm. And so... But it would be like pastors, but they would be like old that would want to talk to me at WHW. At WHW. And I'd be like, oh, my God, no way. I have story after story after story about that. And I'm like, I'm not going down this road again. No thanks. 60. 65, 70. Or then I meet somebody and be like, oh, this is great. And then my pastor be like, he married. I'm like, no, he's not. Yes, he is. And it'd be this huge church. I'm like, oh, he didn't. What? You know, but fast forward. So I get really frustrated. So one day I sit down, I plop down like my dramatic self, and I go, I mean, I can't even get a date. And Doc's like, he has his feet up on his desk like he always does, looking at YouTube. He has his feet up. He's like this. And I'm like, do you hear me? I can't get a date. And he's like, he gets to see all the sides that I don't show anybody, right? And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, I mean, nobody's calling me.
You're a pastor's personal assistant.
Yes, so we're close.
You have to be there to do scheduling, sermon, help them sermon prep and all those
sermon prep. I write the sermons literally as he dictates. I work 7 days a week. Every
so in the
single
midst
day.
Of this, you would also complain about your social life to him.
Yes, because he's like my therapist. My dad doesn't want to hear anything about nothing. He's done. Like, he's like, you taking me through and I'm done. Right? And my mom, you know, she doesn't want to hear that. My grandmother is like, baby, I just don't want it. My grandmother lost all her hair when I was married. She was, I mean, just worried to death, right? So I'm yelling. He goes, you know what? The Lord just told me something. Because every time I would be in that office, even though he would be writing sermons, something crazy. But I know you know this, like probably in your office too. Like, the Lord says something, you're like, like it's a revelation, right? He goes, the Lord told me for you to fast for 38 days. And I was like, okay. And he goes, and after 38 days, you're going to have a man. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I got a lot of DMs from ladies want to know the 38-day formula here.
It was working out and fasting until noon every day. Like nothing but water until noon every day.
6 to noon every day.
Right. 5:30 probably, because I would get up and work out at 5 to noon. So it was no formula. Well, anyway, after the 38 days, I did not have a man. I was like, what is going on? Where's the man? And so Doc was like, you know, I'm going back, because every time a man of God tells me something, I'll be like, now look, you said this and I'm waiting. Are you a false prophet? Do you need to be stoned? You know, and he'd be like, what are you talking about? I'm saying, you made me put my life on for 38 days. So he was like, no, well, what happened during the 38 days? And I was like, well, I had a vision. He was like, what's the vision? My vision is this foundation. And he goes, with what? I was like, with girls. He said, keep going. So I'm telling him, like, I want to give scholarships, and I want to do these Friday talks, and I want to, you know, I want to mentor these girls just like what I do at the church already, but on a different scale. And it's a foundation, so I need to apply. He was like, the Lord didn't give you a man, he gave you a ministry. And I was just like, thanks, you know. But it still made me busy. So I started getting busy. I start like applying for the 501c3 through Sacramento. I, you know, open up accounts with $100. I don't have any money. My grandmother is game, so she's like, whatever it takes. She's the treasurer, the co-signer on everything. You know, my parents are still done with me. They don't put their name on nothing. Like, they didn't say we spent enough. And so I start doing that, and I get really busy, and I really start doing it. Right? I have my first luncheon at the Beverly Hills Hotel, my favorite hotel. It's $10,000, and my grandma's like, I'll pay for it. You just pay me back. I'm like thinking, like, how am I gonna pay you back? But through tickets. Well, anyway, we just broke even. So I did that, and then I had a conference. I wanted a conference like WHW, but I wanted it for girls. And I meet this pastor, and he just gets this church, and he says, oh, I've heard about you. I'm talking about your pastor right there. I've heard about you. I've seen you around. Yeah, I'm sending 10 people. Didn't have no money either. I was like, for real? Like, I'm almost crying, like, you are? He sends 10 people. Pastor Hurt gives you this check. I'm like, thank you. Oh my God. Anyway, I'm really, really working. I think that's you or me. I'm really, really working. I'm really busy. And through that, I'm in. I'm in. Like, I'm not even worried about the man stuff. Because I'm so busy.
You're more focused on that. And tell us what Ladylike is now. We hear what it is. Then you're still at the Beverly Hilton.
Well, I was at the Beverly Hills Hotel.
Beverly Hills Hotel. Okay, got you. I'm sorry.
The pink one.
Yeah, yes, I know. The Polo Lounge. I know that one.
Oh my, that's my favorite hotel ever.
Yeah.
It's just not big enough now.
Right.
So.
Thus, it's not big enough now. There you go.
It's not big enough. So now God has really blessed us, where we've had, we've had hundreds of girls come through our program. We've given hundreds of thousands away in scholarships. Our girls are Black and Latino women of color that have gone to like NYU, Harvard, Yale, Vassar, HBCUs such as Spelman, Howard, Hampton,
Michigan.
We did have one go to Michigan. It's not a HBCU.
Go Blue.
Michigan University, not Michigan State.
Thank you.
Yes, even though she called me in this semester talking about she didn't have no money.
I'm sure you get those calls all the time.
Stayed in California.
You got UCLA,
Berkeley.
Numerous workshops, UCLA Day.
UCLA Day. We have STEM panels, the male panel that you're on. Thank you for that. We have monthly meetings every Friday, once a month on Fridays. We have I teach Tuesday night Bible study now that at least 25 to 30 girls are on there every week. I'm like shocked every time. Like, y'all want to hear me? And we just are like, God has blessed us. And so through the ministry, I met my husband, and he's in the philanthropic space, and he knows how to navigate, and he knows what to do. And even though I did not like him at all when I first met him, I liked the partnership and then became the love. So it like grew into something that's pretty amazing. And he's taught me so much, like marketing and, like, because his culture, he's of the Jewish culture, so his mindset is finance, right? Well, my mindset is not that, So he knows how to bring the finance and everything together to make it work. And so that's been absolutely amazing, because I needed that, because I don't like budgets. I never work with a budget. I just want everything. I want everything I see. I want the flowers. I want the LED screen.
Absolutely. Top of the class, top excellency. Your journey into motherhood, tell us about that.
Oh, God.
How did you feel comfortable?
Oh, I feel comfortable. So because I did not like have sex for those 7 years, which was crazy, because how you go from having sex to not having sex, that's just nuts. I don't even know. I know the Lord was probably laughing at me like, she's really insane, but I did it.
The Lord was laughing at that.
I mean, it was very hard. I'm like,
it's a different theological perspective on purity, but go ahead.
But I'm saying from there, then you go, into a marriage, and then I didn't want to have kids right away. I really wanted to, I wanted to travel and do stuff. And so my pastor, my therapist, my coach, my guide was like, you need to start having your babies now. I was like, what? He was like, no, you need to do it right now. The Lord is telling me to tell you this. And so every time he says that, I take it seriously. So I start and nothing's happening. I mean, nothing. And I'm like, Lord, I did this for you the 7 years, and now you're not blessing me, right? So I did get pregnant. I got pregnant by my ex-husband, and I lost that. And then I got pregnant by my current husband, and I lost it. And so usually they say if you lose a baby that you'll have one quickly, like it'll happen right away. It wasn't happening. And so my mother-in-law was like, you need help. African American community is not in the help of having babies, right? We're known to have babies. Like, who do you not know? I mean, I don't know. My mom didn't have fertility problems, right? Right? My grandmother didn't have fertility problems. She didn't even gotten pregnant in her 40s, back in the 60s, which is like unheard of. Even though she didn't have, the child was stillborn, but she still got pregnant, right? My father's mother had 5 boys back to back, so like, how am I not able to have kids? And so, and then I thought like, maybe because I got divorced, like, is the Lord, punishing me, or I left, all these things. But, so I ended up getting help. So even in that, you're like, okay, it's going to happen. Well, year 1 goes by, 2, 3, 4, 5, nothing. And I'm doing IVF nonstop. I'm doing the shots. I'm doing, standing on my head. I'm doing.
Had you ever heard of that before?
IVF?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But you don't hear from black
like
people.
Me, I've never heard of that concept even until recently.
Are you serious?
Just the joking test tube baby jokes, stuff like that. Right. But nothing in depth.
Oh my God, it's a whole thing. It's so much money.
Now, I'm familiar with it now. But
it's like because of all that I went through, I would tell a woman who's in her 20s to freeze her eggs. Like, even if you're not, going to get married or have any potential right now, you don't know. Like, you may want your career first, but those eggs are so...
And what does that mean?
Okay, so a woman has a certain amount of eggs from birth. Like, God gives you a certain amount. Like, maybe your amount is 2,000 eggs in your entire lifespan from the point that you are born to the point of childbearing years, like until like 40, 42, right? Now it's like 45, but whatever. I mean, but you don't know that every one of those years you're losing numbers. It's going down and down and down and down. So when you get in your 30s, the reason why, back in the day for, when we were growing up, a lot of people weren't having kids in their 30s and 40s because they don't have any eggs left. Like, it's like you're shooting blanks. So you want to save...
Shooting, ladies and gentlemen, shooting.
So you're shooting blanks.
Yeah.
I'm serious because you don't have none. You don't have nothing to hit.
Yeah.
So so in your 20s are your best ones. So when they say freeze your eggs, you want to freeze them when you're really young because those are the best quality eggs that you can possibly have.
All this stuff sounds expensive though.
So expensive, but it's worth it, like in the long run. So here I am, 30s, 40, right?
So let's go back. You your eggs are they like in like a freezer somewhere?
So your eggs are in your uterus and you in your ovaries. You have...
So you're taking them out and...
You're taking them out and you're freezing them. In
like in somebody's deep freezer at home or something?
No.
Like, hey, go get some green beans.
In a doctor's office.
Oh, the doctor. So it's in a professional office with your name on it.
Yeah, everything.
Can you eventually sell them if...
People sell their eggs all the time.
Really?
If you want babies all over the place, yeah.
Hey.
I don't know. Just like you sell sperm, they sell eggs.
Makes sense.
Especially younger girls, because if they're trying to get to college or if they're trying to do something.
So it's Black Maternity Week. Is a lot of that tied into Black maternity and as well?
I don't know because I just found out about that.
Okay.
But Black people don't know anything about this. Like, when I would walk into my doctor's office, I'd be the only Black person there. And then when Dana walks in, everybody's like this, like, what? Or they'll may I help you, sir? And I'm like, hey, we're never, no one ever thinks we're together. Nobody. Wow. Nobody. But anyway, so I'm going through this until, and through this process, I'm just getting sick because I'm having all these surgeries. I'm doing all this stuff to have these babies. I'm like hospitalized for 1 week, 2 weeks. I mean, it becomes a really bad thing because I have endometriosis, which means it's like this, like for women, I know the men are probably gonna get grossed out, but you have like super heavy periods and you think that like, oh, I just bleed heavy, or oh God, I have these cramps. It's awful. That's a problem. Like you are sick and you don't know it. So Black, usually African Americans say, just take some Advil, get a heating pad, you'll be fine. Right?
Do you discuss any of this stuff like with the girls and Ladylike?
All the time.
About their health and stuff like that?
Oh my God, that means you have a problem. That means, my mom was like, oh, I had heavy periods too. You'll be fine. I remember when I came home from my marriage, I ended up going I had to get a new gynecologist. And so I was like, I think I need a DNC because DNC is when they like scrape everything out. If you had like a miscarriage, they take it all out. So you don't have any like diseases or anything. So I go to the gynecologist. I think I need a DNC because I just lost a baby. And he checks me out. And he's like, no, you don't really need that. It's gone, but there's something else we need to talk about. And I'm like, what? I'm 23 years old. And I'm like, what? He's like, you have endometriosis. And he shows me this chart and he's showing me everything. He's like, that means you have a lot of scar tissue. And this scar tissue is going to be hard, is going to make it very hard for you to have children. This is at 23 years old. And I'm like, what? And he was like, so, you really need to take account of this. So I'm like, yeah. So I call my grandmother. I'm like, Mama, they said I'm going to have a hard time. She was like, oh, baby, you ain't going to have no hard time. It's going to be okay. So I'm like, okay, but it was a hard time.
And if you would have got that dealt with back then, it would have been easier?
No, I feel like it gets worse over time, and I wasn't married, so I wouldn't even have known any of this until my pastor said start having the babies. I would have known nothing.
Gotcha.
So, year 10, I am frustrated. I mean, so I start like shopping like crazy and traveling to like numb the pain of not having kids and like not dealing with it or working super hard, just working. So I'm with my grandmother and she has to go to the dentist. She started having dementia. And so even though she's lucid, she still couldn't do everything. So I would take her to everything, to all her doctor's appointments, and she had to go to the dentist. And I was getting ready for a retrieval. So a retrieval is they measure your eggs. Like you have to go to the doctor literally every single day when you're getting ready for a retrieval. So like a screen up there, like they measure your eggs until they're at a certain point. When they're at a certain point, you go under surgery. They take your eggs out. They put it with sperm. They create embryos. And then they put them back in you so that they can, to see if you'll get pregnant. Okay, so I'm getting ready for a retrieval. I have about 3 eggs that we've been growing that I'm like banking on, right? This is year 10. 10 years. And I take my grandmother to the dentist. I said, Mama, I'm gonna be right back. I gotta go to my doctor's appointment. My family didn't understand any of this stuff. So I really didn't talk about it. And I went to the doctor to measure my eggs. I go there and the doctor goes, sorry, they're dying. I was like, oh my God. Because you want to have as many eggs as possible so you have as many possibilities as possible. And I had some, but I wanted to have a lot. But anyway, so I leave the doctor's office. I pay my whatever, $5,000, whatever. It was so much money. I was like, you know how many Chanel bags I could have with this money that I'm spending on nothing? I could have a Birkin at this point. And so I get in the car and I'm driving and I'm trying not to cry because I'm like, should I just give up? Should I just adopt? Like, what should I do? Right? And I hear the Lord say so clearly, and he goes, I used a surrogate. And I was like, I used one. I used a surrogate. I think you should too. Like, I feel like stop putting yourself through all this. This is too much. And so I heard it so clearly, and I told my pastor, he said, flesh and blood didn't reveal that to you. That was the Holy Spirit. I feel like you need to look into that. And I was like, yeah, but I want to carry my own kids. You know what? I'm just going to go with what we have. I'm going to carry my own kids. Well, a few months goes by and the pandemic hits. So I asked Dana, I said, babe, do you want to be a dad? He had been so good the whole time, not like pressuring me or not like, because a lot of people break up over this, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like can't have kids. And so I was like, you want to be a dad? He was like, yeah. I was like, well, okay, we're going to have to do something a little non-traditional. And he goes, well, what is it? And I'm like, I think we need to get a surrogate. He's like, yeah, let's go get one. I've been waiting for you to say it. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. I was like, but it's a lot of money. He's like, it doesn't matter. Like, we'll figure it out. So I'm like, okay, so I didn't want to know anybody. I wanted it to be somebody that I don't know. I went through an agency. I ended up finding someone who was Black. I was very serious about that, even though I said it wasn't serious. I was very serious about that. And I was very serious about them being a Christian. And my surrogate and her husband, you wanted it to be, they say they have somebody who's married with kids, so they don't think that that's their kid. And so I found an African American. Yeah. She was in a Riverside. Usually it's a military wife because their husbands are deported. You can't have sex with your husband or anything. And so she's in Riverside, and we matched. Like, you have to take a psychological test. She takes a psychological test, all this stuff to see if you guys are a match as far as like, will this work as far as the journey? Not as far as the embryos. They're yours. It's just like, will you mesh? So she passes everything, we pass everything, and then we go down to the insemination, which means they take the embryo and they put them in to her. And I was there for that. And it's so funny because I'm driving down to Redondo Beach, running late, and I'm like so nervous because I never want to be late, but I live so far and I just can't.
Gotcha.
I should get drivers because that way you can go to the carpool lane. But when you drive yourself, you can't. So I'm driving down. I'm almost in Redondo Beach, and the nurse called me and says, Mrs. Pump, something happened. And I was like, what? She's like, because we picked a girl and a boy, and I begged the doctor to put in two because I was like, I'm not doing this again. This is it. I'm not. I need twins. I need a girl and a boy. Dana wanted a boy to carry on the name, and I wanted a girl because my grandmother always said, you need a girl to help you because the boys, I don't know what they be doing, right? Girls take care of business. So in my head, I was like, I better have a girl take care of business, whatever that meant. But so we begged him. The doctor was like, well, it's going to be more money, and I don't usually do this. Please don't tell anyone. I was like, I won't. I'll keep it secret. And this doctor was with us the whole time. So he's like a family friend now. And he's with the Kardashians doctor, and I didn't even know it until I was watching the Kardashians. Like, Dr. Wong? Like, you are. So anyway, isn't that crazy? Yeah. I was like, and Doc found him online. He was just like the best reproductive specialist, and he came up, and I got an appointment with him. But anyway, so as I'm driving, she says, something terrible happened. The girl embryo has died on the way down the hall. On the way down the hall for insemination, the girl dies. They're like, well, what do you want us to do? I said, just go get the next best one. At this point, I'm like, shit, I mean, what's next? Like, go down the line. Good. Girl, boy, get the next best one. And so she does, and that, and they both took immediately. Wow. And now it's Dane and Cassie. It's so funny because Cassie is, you have to meet her. She's a wow. She is something. She thinks
how old
I'm
are they
something.
now?
They're 2.5, and they are driving me nuts. They are so active. My life is changed. I go to bed at 3:00 every night, which I know you know because I text you sometimes asking you questions at 3:00 in the morning. I don't sleep. I'm looking into injections in my face now. I was like, I'm never doing Botox. Now I'm like, I need it. Where do I go? Who's the best doctor? I need it here.
You're talking about a lot of things interesting medically wise. So like from just a female perspective. So you helped us out with a documentary on motherhood.
Yes.
Thank you again. Amazing piece and work that was directed by Fatima.
Yes, she's great.
Yeah, and we share the same birthday, so we reached out the other day. Yeah,
I think I see the similarities.
Yeah. Stop it. Me, Aretha Franklin, Big Sean. Just the list goes on and on. But
your sister, me and her.
Yeah.
Kanye, Biggie.
Yeah, but like navigating through those things as a Christian, and also is also like a new world. A lot of it's tied to economics.
Oh my God! Right.
Like for those that may be listening, like what are some of the things that you had to process that, and then maybe somebody who don't have the resources or the support like you had, and they still want to do it because the friends that I know have done IVF are all single. My other friends, I should say, that I know they've done it as a single person.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I interviewed one of them on still on my YouTube channel. But yeah.
All right.
So I mean, just how was that process of navigating through that?
Well, I didn't have the money. We did not have the money. People think that we got it. Like that is a whole nother realm of money. This is like $200,000. Like I remember. So what happens is when you have a surrogate, you have to put the money in an escrow account, and the escrow company pays the person. So it's not like I'm giving. So it takes you out of it, right? I remember when she got pregnant, because that's when it's on. Because if she doesn't get pregnant, then you don't pay her nothing, right, to carry your babies. They were like, you need to have $82,000 in the bank, in the escrow account on Monday. This was Friday. I was like, And so I learned the art of not lying, but just like, okay. What? Like $82,000? Like, where's that coming from? So I was like, Lord, you're gonna have to help me. You told me to do it, so you gotta help me. I would literally, it was like step by step. It would be 5,000. It would be 10. It would be, I would like my little, women always have a stash. Always have a stash, women. So I had a little stash.
Here at the Nuance Conversation, we do not agree, and stash and marriages to the side, but
Listen,
Each
you
his
gotta
own.
be, you gotta help.
Each his
You be
own.
able. Abigail had to know how to navigate. You gotta know how to navigate.
Hey,
You gotta have
this
to make moves.
pulled out old
Even
Abigail
when
on us.
when your husband don't get it, you got to be able to say, "Hey, I am doing this. Like this, we are partners. You can make decisions. I can too. Like, okay, I'm just as smart, maybe smarter, but I'm just kidding. I'm not really kidding though. But I do have a stash. I feel like, you know, if there's some stuff that you want materially,
But you said the key word though. You have a stash.
like I'd say,
You don't have a secret stash.
I have a stash. He knows I have a stash.
Got you.
Yeah,
That's the difference, ladies
now,
and
does
gentlemen.
he know how much is in it? No, and I will not tell him because he'll spend it, and I'm not doing that. He always, I mean, that's ladies. Before you get married, you talk about money. I don't care what you say. You talk about money, like that is serious. Because if you have two people of two different cultures, your mindset is different when it comes to money. Like.
Two different anythings, but probably especially with culture.
He doesn't buy any clothes. Like he doesn't want to. Like he feels like Adidas sends them enough clothes. I'm thinking like, but Adidas doesn't send me nothing. Like, what are you talking about? Or one day he's like, how many black shoes do you need? I'm like, how many black shoes do I want? You know, like that's the question. You know, like, I mean, so that's where we differ. Like we differ in that. Like I feel like I work hard. And I feel like because of my last marriage, it was someone that was on me about everything, like money and spending. And he didn't have any money. And so if I work hard and I have money, then I need to be able to do what I need to do, you know? And I don't need somebody to tell me what I can and cannot do because I don't tell them what they can and cannot do. You know what I mean? Like I feel like should have that freedom to do. And, you know, mine is shopping. And I like what I like. And I don't break the bank. If I can watch a pair of shoes for 8 months. In fact, I just bought some Versace's that I've been watching. They were $2,200. No, actually, no. There was these Christian Louboutin boots, black and white, $2,200.
Yes.
I watched them. They went down to $777. I bought them. Absolutely. Yeah. 22 to 777 is.
7. Yeah. I don't know why this seemed like making an argument with me or yourself, but hey, it's all good.
I do feel guilty, but I have to talk myself into it.
I see yourself. I'm like, hey,
because he makes me feel bad. I'm like, I'm not feeling bad about this, and then I have to go into my black girl crazy. Like, are you crazy? You know, I will do what I need to do. I didn't marry my dad. I married a partner.
Yeah, my dissertation is on financial literacy and to overcome inherent family trauma. There's a component of what you're talking about is critical to diagnose, you know, the need to have and want certain things. It's different with women. I would assume. I'm not a woman, so I can't speak for that. But I just think as you said, culturally, I think we have to be on guard about stuff like that. So,
right.
You know, just to those that are listening, don't be
I understand.
Well, Ms. Leah said.
But women, let me tell you something. If you work hard, I feel like that. If you work hard, you should be able to get something that you like. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. You save for it, you invest, or as you said, watch.
You watch it.
To watch the price go down.
I always have to remind him, I will never put you in a position that puts you out. I will never put you in a position where you're trying to figure out a way out. Like you should trust me. I mean, in the Proverbs 31, it says his heart safely trusts in her. You should trust that I'm going to do good by you, right? I'm going to make sure that everything is good.
Yeah.
So calm down. Yes. Gee whiz. I said, I mean, I'm real. I'm transparent when it comes to marriage. Like I say exactly what I mean, and I mean what I say. Like I don't bite my tongue at all, because I feel like sometimes as women we feel like we're lesser. And
what does that mean?
Okay, so my mom is very passive aggressive. My dad ran the show, and he ran the show when it made sense and when it didn't make sense. And I'm the one that'd be like, Mom, that doesn't make sense. You know, like my dad would be like, you can't wear your new clothes on the first day of school. So I'm like,
that's a true rule, though. You don't wear your new clothes on. Everybody knows this. That's the game.
That must be Detroit and Chicago.
No, I'm from Detroit only. Oh, your dad's from Chicago. But that's from a psychological standpoint.
What? What's that?
When you wear the roll clothes and everybody wear out their new clothes the first day and it's like, oh, they don't got nothing. And then boom, I started hitting you with my stuff. Like, yeah. What was the logic? What was your dad's logic on that? Just because.
It wasn't even any reason.
It was a reason. He probably didn't share the reason.
He didn't buy it.
He didn't share the reason. But that was a rule that I had. Like,
well, that's you.
You don't wear.
My dad came out really poor, so he was just like.
And then me and my friends was like, "Hey, the whole week we ain't gonna do nothing. We gonna just roll it out the next week." Everybody didn't show their whole thing. But I wonder, do people still? I wonder, does that you're with the young people? Is it still like you wear your new clothes on the first day? That was a big deal growing up.
It's a big deal now.
It's still a big deal.
I mean.
Okay.
I never understood why he told me that he told us we couldn't do it if everybody else was doing it. Does it make sense? Like, I thought his whole thing was like, don't make people feel bad that have less than you, because he was always like that. Mm-hmm. Like, and I'm like, how are we making anybody feel bad when everybody is wearing?
So that was part of that generation. So now when you're talking to women and young girls, you're telling them speak up for themselves in that situation.
I mean, I can be really. I'm gonna be real transparent. Mm-hmm. So. My dad was raised strict in a denomination that was very strict, right? Like no makeup. I don't want to call it out, but you probably know. No makeup, no secular music.
Women can wear pants.
Yes, not Baptist. And so he was raised under, even like the
Church of God in Christ.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Even the dice on a Monopoly game, like you couldn't do that. Like, so his dad made them number cards so they could flip the cards, even though it's cards. Like, doesn't make sense. But anyway, so they don't really believe in medicine. Well, that generation didn't believe, you're going to pray it through. You're going to. And so with my brother's mental illness, he was like, he don't need no medicine. And my mom was going along. I was looking at my mom like, are you crazy?
But that's racial as well as religious as well, though.
Right, but I'm saying if someone needs medicine.
No. I'm agreeing, but I'm saying that whole
But my mom's
generation,
from LA, and that's not how she was raised at all.
And that's different. She grew up in LA, and a lot of African Americans from the South. The thing I tell people about African Americans that we don't, this get understated. We're like ultra conservative. Even people that don't think they're conservative are conservative.
Absolutely.
Like
even if we're democratic, we're still
like even if you could be left, you could be all the way. You could be part of the LGBTQI plus community, and you still be conservative by nature.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but when speaking to young girls about these issues in a more progressive society, I guess you would call it. How do you I've seen you engage in these conversations, do it very well and helpful. Just for those that are listening, I'm asking this question. How do you train them to be that woman that speaks up for herself in the context of every sphere, not just marriage, but I mean, what are some things that you address in that area?
So when I taught preschool, there was this thing that I taught the kids in preschool, that when someone did something to you, you say, I don't like that, right? Like if they hit you, I don't like that. They take your snack. I don't like that you take my snack, right? And so I fast forwarded into everyday life. Like when someone does something to you that you don't like, you need to tell them, I don't like that. Like, I don't like the way you're making me feel. I don't like how you talk to me like that. I don't like how you embarrass me. I don't like how you are trying to make me feel stupid when I know exactly what I'm saying, right? And so I think exercising the right to say what you mean and not be afraid. I think sometimes, like I asked my mom recently, I said, Mom, why would you never tell Daddy? That doesn't make sense, or that's too much. That's too much punishment. Like she's like, oh, I just didn't want to rock the boat. I didn't want to make him upset. I'm not like you. I was like, so you live in misery and you watch your children spiral, because you don't want to rock the boat. Whereas my grandmother, on the other hand, who's my best friend, I remember her. Now, my grandfather was a very strong Texan, the coveralls. He fixed everything. They built their apartment buildings from the ground up, literally. And he was the maintenance man and the manager. And my grandmother took care of all the money. I remember one day my grandmother would not let anybody touch my hair because I had really long hair. And she was like, nobody's touching, nobody put heat on it, nobody's cutting it, right? I will do it. So she getting ready to wash my hair. So she turns on the faucet and it starts spewing. It starts spewing out. My grandfather walks in. My grandmother goes, John, you need to fix this sink so I could wash Leah's hair. He goes, I ain't fixing that sink. She said, you ain't fixing it, huh? All right. And I remember, and she was not even 5 feet. She was like, oh, you ain't fixing it? All right. We'll see. You know, she was just like that. All I know is we woke up, that faucet was a brand new faucet.
What happened?
He did it. Like, I don't know.
No, I got he did it. What did
she
do
just
to
had a
him?
way. She had a way. I remember she wanted her kitchen painted, but the tenant upstairs needed her kitchen painted. So my grandma said, John, I want the kitchen painted. It's been a few years. It needs to be refreshed. He goes, oh, I'm painting such and such's kitchen first. She said, oh, well, take your pajamas up there then too. Take your pajamas and tell her what you like to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because I ain't cooking for you. And that was in front of me, and I was like, you know, like, and guess what? The kitchen was painted. So I saw the difference of my grandma saying, you know, in her way, saying, no, we are both working in this marriage. We are both, if I need you to do something, you're going to do, if I'm cooking, cleaning, making sure you're good, I need you to do something for me too. And so that was a better way for me than what I saw at home every day. I hated that. I mean, then I would get in trouble for talking back. So I'm like, Daddy, that don't even make sense. What? And then he'd be like, shut up. And I'm like, shut up for what? It doesn't make sense. You know, and he was like, you getting a whooping. Whoop me then. That's better than a punishment. You know, because, you know, as I got older, because I'm saying, just tell me why. And then we became so close because he saw that the difference between me and my mom was I'm not backing down on something that I don't believe in. Fast forward to my pastor. He said, I hired you because you're not impressed. You will tell me that was horrible. Don't do that sermon again. Or that makes absolutely no sense. No one understands. There's too much Greek. You need to break, you know, come down to. So I just who I am.
Oh, that's interesting. And so that's what you sort of train.
I do.
The young girls to do.
I feel like it's a way. Now it's a way.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I feel like if someone's not hearing you, then you have to do it in a way that they hear you. So.
Yeah, I empathize though with your mom's perspective as well, because the social norms of the time, and I think there's also there's a unity component of it that may have been taking place that didn't always see, that you know the conversations that did have, but then never had in front of you, to make it perceive as it's one way and it's another way. So it's an interesting dilemma to.
But it never was. That's the thing. You know what I mean? Like it never. Like I do understand that word, the dad. Let the dad. Like I'm used to the man running the house. I'm used to that. I'm used to my grandfather running the house, even though my grandma would say little things. He ran the house. You knew it. Everybody, it's the unspoken rule. But at the same time, you weren't like a non-factor. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and you know, those things.
I know it's huge in marriages. I know. Maybe because I got to do it twice. Because I was a non-factor in my first one, and I was like, hell to the no to this one. No way. I don't. Well, and then my mother-in-law told me, she was like, don't let him get away with anything because he'll get away with everything. She told me that before we got married. I was like, what did she say? Don't let him. I was like, so every time I hear that, What
is the generational differences that you see that stands out dealing with current day young people?
Oh my God. I feel like current day young people are so entitled. I feel like my parents talking, like we But I do feel like we work harder. Like
Mm-hmm.
we want it more, you know. We don't try to beat the system. we do the process, you know. And I feel like that's the part that the instant gratification.
How do you tell entitled people that they're entitled?
I don't really do that. I really try to tell them things like, why don't you do this?
Mm-hmm.
Because this isn't working.
Mm-hmm.
So do this. Oh, no, I don't need to do that. Okay. You know, let them fail and fail. Then they're like, Miss Leah, okay, so what do I need to do? You know, or this isn't working. Some people, you can't tell them anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's this generation too. Like, you know, our parents would tell us whether we were listening or not. They'd be like,
What if you had magical powers? What kind of magical powers would you give these young girls to be the best you as an adult? Like, what would you give them?
listen, just listen, and don't make the same mistakes. If you pay attention,
Mm-hmm.
be observant, you'll get all the lessons that you need to learn. I would say know who to align yourself with. Like, who are the good adults, or who are the good advisors, good mentees, mentors, to hook up with, right?
Peers too. Yeah.
Peers also that like help you on the road to success and don't like block you. How to pick the person that's for you. Like, I wish we had that. Somebody like the guy would just like let us zero in on it. That's it, you know? Because, you know,
How do you listen better?
mistakes.
No, how do you become a better listener? What are some of the skills that you need to cultivate to be a better listener?
Shut up. Like, I feel like you just have to be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm so nosy, I don't want to miss it. I'm getting every piece of information. You know what I'm saying? I feel like people who are nosy, they like really like.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I used to tell my brother, "Shh, don't breathe." Like when when parents were talking, like, "Don't breathe, hold your breath."
To let them know you're not there.
No, because if you breathe, it's like another sound, and you're missing like a word or.
That's crazy.
I'd be like, what? I'm like, so I can hear everything, you know. But I feel like listening is a talent. Like, you just have to. People tell you exactly who you are if you just listen, right? They tell you their intentions if you just listen.
It's absolutely. That's why I asked that question. I think it's a great magical power to give someone. I'm gonna get you out of here on some fun stuff because you always do this to us on the panel. So, but a lot of this I already know. Favorite movie of all time?
You know this? Let me see. What's my favorite movie of all time?
Karate Kid, right?
Which part?
One.
That's
I mean,
it.
that's not even that's not only, my next question is there's only a sequel that's debatable better than original in one movie.
You think Karate Kid?
Yeah, Karate Kid.
Part 2?
No, one. No.
One is all the way.
Yeah, one's always the winner in most occasions. Except for this. There's an argument for one.
Which one?
Godfather 1 and 2.
Oh, okay, of course.
Yeah. So which one is Godfather 1 and 2?
Well, okay, so I haven't seen the totality of any Godfathers. I have only seen. I know.
Oh, this hurts.
It's terrible, but I like what I like. Like, I like chick flicks. I like.
I mean, I understand that, but this is one of the greatest movies ever made.
And Dana's not a movie guy. I used to date only movie people, so I would see every movie out. He watches sports documentaries 30 on 30s over and over and over. I can tell you any stat, but no.
What's your favorite documentary?
I really liked The Last Dance. Was really great. I loved The Last Dance.
Oh my God.
I mean, you didn't?
I'm not a Jordan fan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, LeBron hasn't come out with a documentary, so you gotta wait.
I also feel like documentaries should be objective, and the person that is about shouldn't be the one dictating
Okay, got it.
what's being focused on and not. I think we were in a desperate state So I watched it. But
right. You were watching
happened,
every Sunday.
But it was pandemic.
So you were waiting for it, right?
Right. So it was nothing else was being generated and created, and we all thought the world was going to end at any moment. So, hey, might as well watch Jordan manipulate the narrative of the Bulls dynasty.
It was great, though. I loved it. Did you like They Call Me Magic?
Magic's documentary on 30 for 30?
No. It came out maybe 2 years ago. They Call Me Magic.
I don't think
I saw it. It was on Apple
one.
TV. You guys see it. It's really good.
I think I started. I didn't. Yeah, it was like to play off of what they were doing on HBO.
Yeah, but that was not right. The HBO one was terrible.
Yeah. Well, it was well done. It just was fabricated greatly, amazingly fabricated. No, it wasn't well done. It was entertaining, but at the expense of truth, and that's.
I was stuck. I was like, "Is this happening?"
Yeah, man. I mean, but you're in that space, in that world, so those are personal friends of yours. So I would imagine that would be even more difficult.
It was something out, but nobody mentioned that. Nobody even talked about that one.
Yeah, no. But I think, as it relates to sports documentaries,
how about the ones who never was? The greatest who Bono's.
The greatest never was is probably the greatest documentary.
Those are amazing.
Yeah, Marcus Dupree.
My God.
Yeah, that
amazing.
That
Hands
one.
Down.
If you talk about pound for pound, that's probably the best.
I mean, you can't stop watching it.
Yeah,
right?
it's
You're
amazing.
Like, what?
And I'm watching it, and I'm like, 30 for 30 never does 2 hours. Why are they doing 2 hours on this? And 5 minutes in, I know why. This is about to be a 2-hour documentary.
This is good.
I cannot believe. I have a line in there that I use when he talks about everything he went through, and he says, "I should listen to my mama." I'm like, this really boils down to the summation of everything that happens in life. Should have listened to my mama. That's what it boils down to. Should have listened to my mama. That is the greatest never was.
Thanksgiving. I think it comes on every Thanksgiving because I feel like I'm watching it while
it's
I'm
the best 30. It's the best sports documentary.
It's amazing. That's why I got into 30 on 30s because of that one.
Yeah, that one. It's definitely the best of the 30 on 30s. Doesn't have the most flair. Obviously the most famous person on there, but
still
the storyline,
absolutely,
and the flow and the redemption, and it is.
Okay, you said
grits. How do you don't eat grits?
Huh?
This is getting bad.
I know how to make grits.
Okay,
I know.
So you can't even enter into this debate of sugar or salt.
I can't. You're from Detroit. I'm from LA.
And the answer is
sugar. Why would you put sugar in grits?
This is terrible. It's going so great.
Do you ever watch the Food Network? You can make. I like the fried
the Food
grits.
Network. This is where we're going as a legitimacy of.
You don't watch the Food Network?
This is how we're legitimizing the quality of food.
Legitimize soul food or what?
I mean,
I can cook, okay? Grits are not my favorite. I don't like grits like that. I like grits with cheese or like grits and shrimp and grits, like that type of stuff. Okay. I love that.
All right, a couple more.
Which is not sugar.
Favorite place you ever visited in the world?
Maui.
That is a good one. Michael Jackson or Prince?
Michael Jackson. What?
It's getting better. Listen, tell everybody where they can find you.
No, give me some more. I want some more. Give me some more good, fun stuff.
Tupac or Biggie?
Tupac.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Even though Biggie, our birthdays are close. I know all the lyrics to all of his songs. All of them.
Well, I think it's an unfair question because Tupac had a greater had more works, more music, more catalog, bigger reach.
What about the Diddy
more
stuff?
Introspective?
Wow. Whoa. That's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah. Well, let's pray for him. I know what you mean, but
yeah, pray for him and TD Jakes.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what's true. And I'm not saying it to be politically correct. I'm just saying that from the standpoint of it is mysterious to me how the FBI
raided all those houses at one time.
Can how strategic, not even FBI, mainstream media in general, when they attack a person, and how when in the midst of them telling these stories, none of this is breaking news to anybody that's connected to any social circles. So let's take we throwing names out, which we shouldn't, but we're already in the water. Let's take R. Kelly.
Okay. I was somewhere and they played his music. I was like, are we supposed to enjoy this?
Are we supposed to do this? Do we supposed to step in the name of love?
It sounds good,
but none of this that if you were slightly tapped into the music world circle, you knew these stories.
Right, but I feel like he doesn't have enough money.
Exactly, or popularity at this point. To skate.
And Diddy's kind of cross-cultural, whereas R. Kelly's not really. Wasn't really.
And Diddy has more money, like you said. More access to more money, because more money is relative in how we count it in America.
And influence, because, he was in those political circles,
Yeah.
So I feel bad about that. I feel bad. I want my pastor everywhere. I invite you to my stuff. And that's not like...
Yeah, going to a party, I hope people understand that, we have to interface in these type of social circles, but going to that type of party...
But
obviously,
it's a big house. Like, I've been to the house. It's huge. Like,
of course, you can have all type of stuff going on, and
you don't know.
No clue.
And then sometimes you're directed to a section.
Yeah,
like they don't want you.
Right. Yeah, it's ridiculous to throw people's name in the middle of stuff and all that, but that's the world we live in. That's the times we live in. So, what you gonna do? Where can people find you? Social media.
www.theladylike.com. Our event's on June 1st. Please come on out. I'm on social media. I am Leah_Ladylike. I do stuff all the time for women. And is it Wednesday? Today's Wednesday.
Yeah, what are you working on? We're not sure when it's going to air. So what are you working on? What's coming up? What's down the pipeline?
I have my luncheon coming up on the 1st. I have... I'm busy every single day.
Well, we'll get that information and we'll put it all out there in the space.
UCLA Day.
We'll put it all out there in the space. All right. Thank you for doing it. Thank you all for tuning in. Look out for our podcast. Look out for ways so you could be a partner with us here at Nuanced Conversations. And we look forward to extending our brand of having open, honest, transparent, and intelligent conversations about religion, politics, social norms, and pop culture.